Heavy Hitters introduces an overwhelming amount of new cards, and you're supposed to use heroes you don't know, weapons you don't know, mechanics you don't know, to build a deck in just a few minutes. But don't worry, I've got you covered. I'm gonna go over how the pre-release is going to go down, a super easy way to sort all your cards, what power cards to look out for, and rough gameplay guides for each hero. So let's jump right in. So how is the pre-release going to go down, and how much time do you have for deck building? At the start of it you'll get 6 packs, each containing 16 cards. You can just put away the last 2 of each, you won't need them for deck building. You're left with 84 cards and you're going to build a deck of at least 30 cards, that's excluding equipments and weapons. And you can put up to as many cards as you want in there, as long as they all belong to one class or are generic. You will have access to all common weapons, which are those, no matter which you open in your packs. And you will have 30 minutes to build your deck and read your cards, so there really is no reason to rush. So now you've opened your packs and you're left with a stack of 84 cards and no plan what to do with those. No worries, I have an easy way to sort all of them. If you have a look at each card, you'll see they have quite apparent borders. This one, for example, on the left has a border indicating it's a Brute card, and on the right a border indicating it's a Warrior card. This one has a border on the left indicating it is Brute, on the right indicating it is Guardian. And this one also has 2 different borders, the left one for Guardian, the right one for Warrior. If you just put these dual class cards into 3 different piles, just the way I did here, and then put the single class cards between them like this, you see the single class card Guardian has the Guardian border on the left and the right, so I'll just put them between the dual class Guardian Brutes and the dual class Guardian Warriors. I'll do the same with my single class Brute cards, I put them between the Brute Guardian and Brute Warriors. And then, last but not least, I'll do the same with the Warrior cards. Now you'll have a first impression as to how many playable cards of each class you have. With the rest of the cards, I put my generics in one stack, and all my equipment in one, and the rare equipment in another one. Then I'll go over the rare equipment and even the equipment and put out some of the ones that stand out for deck building. In this case, even though we have a Majestic here, there's nothing really special, so I won't really regard my generics as important for deck building here. And in our equipment we have some very versatile pieces, and one to look out for especially are the flat trackers, which give you agility and a token which is very important in this format. They will enable you to play Brute and Warrior to a higher level, so we put those aside. We also have the Miller's Grindstone here, which is a very good weapon for Guardians. We will put that aside. And we also have the rare Guardian Shield here, so we'll put that aside as well. And keep in mind that we all might already tend to go Guardian. So let's look into our Guardian cards next. Is that actually a class we might be able to play? We already see we have 5 Guardian single class reds here, and then another 2 here and 2 more there. So with 9 reds we're quite happy. And after that we look at the blues we can play and see whether or not there might be lots of 3 blocks in here. In this case we do have quite a lot of 3 blocks. So also our blue pool isn't bad either. And even in our yellow cards we have some power for Guardian. So we'll keep that in mind. Guardian looks like a good option. Now let's look into Brutes. We have quite a few strong red cards for Brute. Even lead with speed, which again gives us an agility token, so is quite important. But overall, even we also have 9 Brutes. Brute cards, those I would say aren't quite as strong. The single class Brute cards are only 3. For blues, we are actually missing quite a few 3 blocks, there are only 2. Now onto the Warriors. We don't actually have a lot of power cards here. The ones you're usually looking out for are Agile Engagement and Lead with Speed. Unfortunately, we only have one of those in red and one in yellow. So Warrior doesn't look too promising here. There are quite a lot of blue 3 blocks, so it isn't impossible. But again, our equipment doesn't really support it either. So I think I'm going to go with Guardian here. Jumping into a few rough guidelines here, I'd recommend you play your best 30 cards and don't go over that. That's because matches rarely go to fatigue here, and it's really about putting out the most value you can turn by turn. Let's jump into rough gameplay guidelines for each hero now, as an orientation on how your turns and trading patterns are supposed to look like to get the most value out of your hero. As I've touched on before, KO profits from going really wide, so you do want those agility tokens and go against sources to go with him. And usually you should aim to play 4 or 5 card hands. Rhino on the other hand is very good with 2 to 3 card hands and blocking a bit. Guardians, similar to Rhino, want to throw 2 to 3 card hands. Betsy sometimes even wants to do some setup and just play an aura out. And warriors are also fine with playing 2 to 3 card hands, although with the right agility tokens they can go much wider. The most value they create is on the 2 and 3 card hands though. But now, what about the upcoming draft events? How do you make sure you stay ahead of the competition there? I'm currently spending multiple hours a day playing and theory crafting around heavy hitters. To profit from that, simply subscribe to see me play the format. I can also recommend clicking on this video right here to see some insane KO action in Classic Constructed.